Hello, Sound on Sound. I'm Erik Norlander with IK Multimedia, and we've made an analog synthesizer. This is the Uno Synth. It is a two oscillator, real analog synthesizer. We have a full analog audio path. The instrument starts with two oscillators with variable wave shape. So you can go from your triangle wave to in between triangle and saw to your sawtooth wave, in between sawtooth wave to your square wave. Then of course we have pulse width modulation, and we can actually modulate not only pulse width modulation, but the full wave shape with the LFO or with an envelope. And there are two oscillators, and they're both independent. So you could actually be doing pulse width modulation on one, and then modulate between the triangle and sawtooth wave on the other. Or you want to be more traditional, just set them both to a sawtooth wave and detune them. There's also a white noise generator in addition to that. The oscillators get mixed together, and they go through our two-pole resonant multi-mode filter. So of course we have our traditional low pass mode, our high pass, and band pass. The Uno Synth also has a custom overdrive that really gives the synth a lot of personality and character. So at lower settings, it's sort of a gentle saturation. And then the more intense that you make it, kind of the more aggressive and modern sounding it gets. So if you go use our regular low pass mode with a reasonable resonance setting and low overdrive, it's very easy to get classic 70s analog synth sounds for anything from Tangerine Dream style sounds to the theme from Stranger Things, which Enrico has been playing throughout the show. And then, of course, if you go into some of the more unusual areas of the synth, like with the high pass filter or the band pass filter with higher resonance settings, and then you bring up the drive, we get very quickly into EDM territory and kind of modern Euro rack sounds. So as you can see from the design, our goal with it was to make an analog synth for everyone. So obviously it has a very, very low price point. It's really compact, it's really lightweight, and sonically it's really flexible. The filter and the variable wave shape and all of that really lets you get a lot of different sounds out of a very, very small package. We have two envelopes. There's a dedicated filter envelope and a dedicated amplitude envelope. We have two stages per envelope on the front panel. They're the stages that you use most for this kind of a product. So we give you filter attack and filter decay, and then amplitude attack and amplitude release. They are actually 4-stage envelopes, full ADSR for both the filter and amplitude, but the other two stages are controllable via MIDI CC or via the computer editor that comes with the synth. There's also an LFO with 7 different shapes. So we have our sine wave, triangle wave, saw down, saw up, square, random, and sample and hold. So of course the LFO can modulate pitch, filter, and amplitude, as well as the wave shape and pulse width, as we mentioned. We can set the rate here. In addition to just setting the rate on its own, it can sync to the tempo of the sequencer of the Arpeggiator. So we have our 16th note there, 16th note triplet, 8th note triplet. I'm upside down here, so that seems right. Okay, dotted 16th note, you get the idea. Okay, then down below, we have 5 performance controls. And these are preset modulations for instant articulation. So we have dive and scoop, which lets you dive down to the note. Scoop lets you scoop up to the note. These were inspired by some of the 70s Japanese synths like the Yamaha CS80, the Roland SH series like the SH5 and SH2 with their auto bend, that sort of thing. So it's the idea of like, if you had the pitch bend wheel, you'd be scooping up to the note or diving down to the note. With the Uno Synth, you just press the button and you get that articulation automatically. So especially if the sequencer is playing or the Arpeggiator is playing, you can just add a little bit of life and color to them with those. There's also a button for vibrato, which is pitch modulation, wah, which is filter modulation, and tremolo, which is amplitude modulation. And these follow the LFO, so you can actually set the rate of the LFO for the vibrato, for the wah, and for the trem. Then we have a lovely 16-step sequencer in the Uno, and there are 100 presets, and each preset has its own sequence. So we can store not only the sound parameters, but also the sequence parameters. And the sequence parameters are more than just notes. The super cool thing about this is we can actually store 20 different synth parameters per step. So you heard the sound that Enrico made with the drum kit, where on step 1 he's dialed in a kick drum sound, and then on the backbeat he's changed it to a snare drum with the white noise, and then he's gone to a tom sound and then back to a kick drum sound. So because it's an analog synth, we can actually morph all of the synth parameters in real time, and it changes smoothly. So there's no clicking or zippering or anything like that, because we're just changing analog synth values, basically. Let's see. Oh, the sequencer can also be used in real time. So you can program it step by step, like a TV303, or you can actually just hit record and play, and then the sequence will loop, and you can add notes and synth parameter changes on the fly in real time. There's also an arpeggiator. And the arpeggiator has 10 different modes. So up, where it just repeats the notes going up, down, up and down, repeating the top and bottom notes, down and up, repeating the top and bottom notes. Random, which just, if you're holding a chord, it'll just play notes in the chord at random. As played, so if I play, let's say I play a 3-part chord and I play the 3rd, then the root, then the 5th, it will actually arpeggiate the notes in that order. This doubles each note, so it will play 2 notes for every note in the chord going up, the same thing going down, and then there we are again. It has a 4-octave range, so you can arpeggiate just exactly in the octave you're playing, increase it by 1 octave or up to 4 octaves. There's a delay effect where we can set the time and of course set the mix. We can change octaves. Our global alternate functions turn the metronome on and off for real-time recording. We can sync via USB MIDI or via the MIDI connectors to external MIDI clock. So if you connect this to your DAW or workstation of any kind and you're sending it MIDI clock, it'll automatically synchronize with that, including starting the sequence and starting the arpeggiator right on the bar line. What else? Glide, of course. Scales. There's a 2-octave, 27-note touch keyboard, and this is actually capacitance sensing, so it's not a membrane, not membrane switches or anything like that. You don't even really have to press the buttons, you just have to touch the buttons like the screen on your iPhone, basically. So the scale keyboard, we took this from our iOS apps. So in the normal chromatic mode, you just play the notes chromatically, but then we can also quantize the notes on the keyboard to various scales. So here's a major scale, so no matter what notes you play on here, it will always play in the major scale. Minor scale, and then we have, I think it's, what is it? Let's find out. 12 different other scales. So the usual Dorian, Mixolydian, Phrygian, Lydian, and all that, klezmer, all kinds of cool scales like that. So you don't really have to be a university-trained pianist to have a lot of fun with this unit. So the idea, again, it's a synth for everyone. So if you are, the virtuoso, prog rock synth hero, you can get a lot of use out of this. If you're a kid that wants to make EDM on the train, you can do that as well. So that's the idea. The product will be available in July, and it will be roughly £199, including VAT in the UK.